Good evening. Once again, we return to the story of Caius, Spellsword, Dunmer, Eternal Champion, former agent of the Emperor, current head of the Blades in Vardenfell, and I don't believe I have given myself the appropriate title, Finest Courier in Tamriel, for quite some time, but it's important that we re-establish that. Now, I did have a few of these details to deal with, but I believe I was looking for... I gotta remember the name. Right, so, Aaron's Teeth.
Aaron's Teeth are two stone spikes at the mouth of the Valley of the Wind, and the Valley of the Wind runs south from the sea in the northeast of Vardenfell, east of Dwemer Bathund, east of Daedric Zergonopol.
Wait a minute, east? Alright.
We stay away from that valley. The winds howl
East. Wait, so I may have already been there. I think I had a chance to stop by the Zainab. You know, while I'm at it. I should have done this last time, but I did have a chance to do the ebony job. Now, I thought it might be up here, but I'm gonna have to reevaluate. The good news is it's not that far away compared to where I'll be fairly soon. I also seem to recall the inhabitants of that camp are not particularly friendly, but I'll have to deal with that on my own time. I don't think this is who I'm looking. Oh, alright then. Alright, well. It's too much for the game to handle, apparently. It's actually been a while since I've had a crash, so I think I can live with that one. shouldn't be tempting fate again, but...
Not big anymore.
It's just clearly a need for me to dispatch them more quickly.
Die, betcha.
Probably should have knocked. I think that's a skeleton. Oh no, that's a golden saint. I don't think that's the kind of shield I want, but it's good practice. I'll maybe take a chance that I can, I don't think I have any gems, but... I have the high ground now. So I suppose in the worst case, I just try some personality potions to secure the ebony trade. We'll see whether or not the Ashlanders are amenable.
Welcome, Outlander. The hospitality of the open-handed Zainab is always open to travelers.
Let's talk about the hospitality.
Travelers are always welcome here, Outlander. All that is required is that you speak and act with courtesy, and that you share news of the outside world and pay for your hospitality, for a wise chief keeps himself informed about events.
Let's hear about news then.
Thank you for sharing these tales and rumors. For our part, we have had little news. We hear other tribes are troubled by blight, storms, and monsters, but we are the mighty Zainab, and such things do not bother us. Our tribe has a permanent settlement at Zainab Camp. The village of Voss is to the northeast. Ebony, you must speak with Gulkan Ashabal.
Thank you.
Oh, look, an outlander. Are you lost, poor thing? Do the big bad beasts bite you? Do you need a healer? Or do you need our trader so that he can take your gold and give you things that we would throw away to give to our guar?
Well, funny you should mention. Let's talk about the black things out of the ground that you would throw away to your guar.
Why are you speaking to me about ebony? Zainab are now strong enough to sell ebony. Yes, that is true. The Zainab are very strong, and we have ebony to sell. Why do you want our ebony when you have ebony of your own? We do not have enough ebony. If we both sell ebony, the price drops. Yes, I hear the truth of your words. When two strong warriors stand side by side, no one dares challenge them. I will trade ebony with House Lalu.
Glad you could see reason. Probably should have just went with the price drop. All right. So Azure Star. Oh yeah, we've got a bunch here. So
Nibani Messiah says that if the star is the key, Azura's star, then the door may be seen only at dawn and dusk when Azura's star is in the sky. Then the star would be a key that opens the door. Let me just...
yeah, I should start from here.
I passed Sol Matul's warrior's test. Now I must find the Cavern of the Incarnate, a secret place sacred to Azura, and look for the moon and the star of the prophecies. To find the Cavern of the Incarnate, I must solve a riddle. The eye of the needle lies in the teeth of the wind. The mouth of the cave lies in the skin of the pearl. The dream is the door, and the star is the key. Sol Matul called this riddle Wisdom's Test, and says to take counsel, take counsel of the wisdom of the tribes to find the way. Nabani Messiah thinks that the star is the key refers to Azura's star that appears in the sky only at the magical hour between day and night, at dawn and twilight. Nabani Messiah says that if the star is the key, Azura's star, then the door may only be seen at dawn and dusk when Azura's star is in the sky. The star would be the key that opens the door. An Ashlander says that there is a place called Erin's Teeth in the Valley of the Wind. 2 rock spires mark the entrance to the Valley of the Wind, and they bear the name of the seer Erin, who was blessed by Azura. These might be the teeth of the wind. The Valley of the Wind is a valley on the northeast slopes of Red Mountain.
That weirds me out a little bit.
I was asking about the skin of the pearl when I mentioned the needle in the Valley of the Wind, and Ashlander said that there was a whitish rock at the top of the needle. That might be the skin of the pearl that I'm looking for. And Ashlander says the eye of the needle is a riddle that may be the tall rock column in the Valley of Wind. The Valley of Wind is a valley on the northeast slopes of Red Mountain. The entrance to the valley is marked by Erin's Teeth, 2 tall rock spires.
So it's interesting that the skin of the pearl keeps referring to the same area.
Just a moment, you mentioned the needle in the Valley of the Wind. I recall at the top of that tall spire is not white, but much lighter than the other rocks nearby. The head of the Valley of the Wind sits right under the needle. It's a good safe campground, sheltered from wind, with only one approach. That whitish rock at the top of the needle, that might be the pearl you're looking for. There are 2 valleys side by side, one on the northeast slopes of Red Mountain. The westmost is called Dry Camp Valley. The camps have no water, but they are sheltered from the wind. Dunai caverns are also there. The Valley of the Wind is the easternmost valley. It runs long and straight south between Erin's Teeth and climbs towards Red Mountain.
Yeah, that still weirds me out.
The mouths of these valleys are to the east along the coast, past Bathand, a Dwemer ruin, and just past Zergonopol, a Daedric ruin. Turn south.
Alright, well, let's go to Zerganabal as a start. The fog probably won't help things. Wanted to be friendly.
I have you! Stupid!
I'll admit I'm a little perplexed about these valleys, but heading to the coast makes the most sense. And then we'll take it from there. Didn't even think there would be a dungeon in Delvos for me to check out. Sounds like there's still someone after me. How dare they? I don't know how much that helped, but I hope you're alright. So these could be the teeth for all I know. I don't think it's quite that simple. Still, the location is kind of close to where I would expect it. And those do look like the sort of thing So these are probably the two peaks that I'm looking for. A tall rock column in the Valley of the Wind, valley on the northeast slopes. Alright, so it seems to me like we're on the right path. Unless, of course, it's somewhere inside here, but I think this is the right way. I think this is the tool they're talking about. I thought this was supposed to be sheltered from the wind. This might be it.
The door is locked and will not open. The star is the key.
It's very nice of them to have an assistant. Alright. What time is it? Oh yeah, we've got a couple hours.
In the dawn hour under Azura's star, the door is opened.
I'm still gonna say Azura. Trying to help the rebranding as a god of commerce. Hey, personality and speechcraft, I like it.
Nerevar reborn, incarnate. Your first 3 trials are finished. Now, 2 new trials lie before you. Seek the Ashlander Ashcans and the Great House Councillors. 4 tribes must name you Nerevarine. 3 houses must name you Hortator. My servant, Nabane Mesa, shall be your guide. And when you are Hortator and Nerevarine, when you have stood before the false gods and freed the heart from its prison, heal my people and restore Morrowind. Do this for me, and with my blessing.
Alright, I really like that. Whoa!
I saw Azura in the Cavern of the Incarnate. I received the Moon and Star, an enchanted ring, and I am the Nerevarine. I have passed the first 3 trials. I now must show Moon and Star to the Ashcans of the tribes and the councillors of the houses. Each tribe must call me Nerevarine. Each house must call me Hortator. These are the next 2 trials. Nibani Mesea shall be my guide. I must return to her and seek her counsel. Welcome, Incarnate, Moon and Star Reborn, Hortator, Nerevarine, Mourner of the Tribe Unmourned, Redeemer of the False Gods. I am Peakstar. I was not the one, but I wait and hope. Ask and I shall answer, if wisdom guides me. You bear the Moon and Star, the Ring of Nerevar. None may deny you are Nerevar Reborn, the prophesied of Incarnate. The temple will know you as an enemy, ordinators will mark you for death, and the tribunal faithful of the great houses will hate and fear you. The doubters of all the tribes will test your strength and doubt your honor. You will be known. You must prepare and be ready.
Tell me about the Hortator.
You must go before the councillors of the great houses and satisfy them, for only the councillors of the great houses can name you Hortator. I do not know the settled people of the great houses and can offer you no counsel. You must go before the Ashcans of the Wastes people and satisfy them, for only the Ashcans of the 4 tribes can name you Nerevarine. Speak first with Sul-Matul of the Urshilaku, and with the wise woman Nibani Masaya, for of all the Ashlanders, they are wisest in the lore of the Incarnate. After you've already shown Sul-Matul proof of your worth,
Tell me about the tribe unmourned.
Pity Dagoth-Ur in the 6th house. All they do, all they are, is foul and evil, but they began in brightness and honor, and the cause of their fall was that their loyal service to you, Lord Nerevar. You told Lord Dagoth to guard the profane tools beneath Red Mountain, and thus he was tempted. He did your bidding when he tried to keep these tools from the tribunal, and so he hates you, who betrayed him, and the tribunal, who mocked his honor, attacked him, and stole the profane tools for their own use.
Tell me about the profane tools.
Kagranak, high priest of the Dwemer, forged enchanted artifacts to steal the power of the gods. Nerevar fought the Dwemer to prevent this blasphemy, but Dagoth-Ur took these tools to make himself a god, and the tribunal took these tools to make themselves gods. Though the tribunal sought to do good with their power, they are tainted by the same corrupt desires that moved Dagoth-Ur.
Are these the false gods?
The tribunal and Dagoth-Ur have the unnatural abilities and lifespans of gods, but they gain these things by actions that mock the gods and misuse divine power. They were ambitious and unwise, and the consequences of these ungodly acts threaten all that lives in Morrowind.
Why were you not the one?
I am a failed incarnate. So are all who remain here with me in the Cavern of the Incarnate. I survived the Blight, but I fell in battle with an ash vampire. I could not master the arts of war, nor could I learn the ways of the great houses. They would not have accepted me as Hortator. Take these few poor things. They are of no use to me. Welcome, Incarnate. I am Anteria. I was not the one, but I wait in hope, and I shall tell you my story. I was a holy crusader of the temple in the golden era of the tribunate. I contributed substantially to the writings that were later suppressed by the temple, and now would be called epigrapha. I followed the tribunal unquestionably, to my regret. I never believed in the Nerevarine prophecies until it was too late. Take my humble possessions with my blessing.
Oh. I feel a bit bad about taking those, but...
Welcome, Incarnate. I am Hort Led. I was not the one, but I wait and hope. Ask, and I shall tell you my story. I died 400 years ago in the last days of turmoil and unrest after the Empire came to Morrowind. I was a thinker and not a doer, and though I was marked by the stars, I was not a hero. Take these things of mine. My bones won't complain.
Wait, am I only wearing one ring? I mean, the extra destruction's kind of nice. Curious what I lost by putting that on. Apparently nothing. So, here's what I'm gonna do.
Welcome, Incarnate. I am Kanun Chodala. I was not the one, but I wait and hope. Ask, and I shall tell you my story. I was an Ashcan. I led my people against the Akavari, while the Cyrodiil dogs fled before them like Kaguti. I quested deep into the strongholds of Red Mountain, cleansing the unclean things in their own blood. I did not heed the counsel of the women, and to my shame I craved glory, but never saw my real enemies. My axe and boots are yours, with my blessing. Welcome, Incarnate. I am Idnrek Nerathan. I was not the one, but I wait and hope. Ask, and I shall tell you my story. I lived in the late years of the Tribune. Behind the scenes, I helped us demoralize and then repel the Akaviri invaders. I knew nothing of the Nerevarine or Dagoth-Ur until I took refuge with the Ashlanders. I died a fool trying to loot a ruined Cogruin. Here, take these. Maybe there's something in the world left stealing. Welcome, Incarnate. I am Erudan. I was not the one, but I wait and hope. Ask, and I shall tell you my story. I saw Morrowind fall to the Empire. I lived through the humiliation of the surrender, swore hatred and vengeance against the Imperial and Tribunal alike for their betrayals. In later years I despaired and turned to Red Mountain, where I grew old and died fighting the Blight and Red Mountain monsters. Take my weapons and armor. I have no further use for them. So, I'm sorry to break. I know I use my normal voice for the recording and stuff like that, and I try not to break the flow of the game too much. I obviously do like breaking the fourth wall with in the Kaya's voice and whatnot. I'll just mention, I love these parts in the story where, you know, if you go to the old Greek myths, you know, where the hero gets the weapons of great power. Or here, sort of seeing the ghosts of everyone who came before you. Like, I eat this stuff up. I like this so much. And there's not really a way for me to express that except, like, pausing and taking a minute to just say how cool this is. But I like this a lot. The Ghost of Antaria gave me a book and a mace. The Ghost of Hortled gave me a book and a robe. The Ghost of Kanun Chodala gave me an axe and a pair of boots. The Ghost of Idrine Nerathan gave me a probe and lockpick. The Ghost of Erudan gave me a spear and a cuirass. And I'll just make sure we don't have, so 1, 2, 3. 6.
So I should go to the Urshalaku, but in this case I think it's best that I head home. I need to study the books, and I need to lighten the burden. So the boots of the Apostle are still better. The cuirass is not quite what it needs to be. It is very tempting to put this ring on instead of the, I don't even remember where I got that. You know what? An extra 5 to, destruction is good and all, but this is too good. All right. It said they gave me a book, but I don't actually see. Oh, here we go. All right. Let me just make sure we don't have Sermon 12 already.
The 36 Lessons of Vivek, Sermon 12. As the Hortator pondered the first lesson of ruling kings, Vivek wandered into the morning hold and found that Ayam was still with a pair of lovers. Set had divided himself again. Vivek then leapt through into their likenesses to observe, but he gained no secrets that he did not already know. He left a few of his own behind to make the journey worthwhile. Then Vivek left the capital of Veloth and wandered far into the Ash. He found a span of badlands to practice his giant form. He made of his feet a less dense material than the divine to keep from falling waist deep into the earth. At this point, the first corner of the House of Troubles, the Prince Molag Bal, made his presence known. Vivek looked on the King of Rape and said, "How very beautiful you are that you do not join us."
Actually, I think we did read this.
And Molag Bal crushed the warrior poet's feet, which were not invulnerable, and had legions cleave them off. Mighty fires from the beginning place were brought like nets to hold Vivek, and he let them. "I would prefer," he said, "some kind of ceremony if we are to be married." And the legions that took the feet were summoned again and ordered to begin a banquet. Pomegranate sprang from the Badlands, and the tents were raised. A throng of Velothi mystics came, reading the passages of the severed feet on the ground, with weeping until the scriptures were wet. "We must love each other briefly," Vivek said, "if at all. I am needed to counsel the Hortator in more important matters, because the Dwemari high priests stir up trouble. You may have my head for an hour." Molag Bal rose up and extended 6 arms to show his worth. They were decorated in runes of seduction in its reverse. They were decorated in the annotated calendars of longer worlds. When he spoke, mating monsters fell out. "Where must it go?" he said. "I told you," Vivek said. "I am meant to be the teacher of the king of the earth, Altadun Gartok Padom." With these magic words, the King of Rape added another, Kim, which is the secret syllable of royalty. Vivek had what he needed from the Daedroth, so he married him that day. In the hour that Baal had asked for his head, the King of Rape asked for proof of love. Vivek spoke 2 poems to him to show him such, but only the first is known. "I'm not sure just how much glass it took to make your hair twice as much. I am sure as the oceans have to share hell, my sweet is a fiction written by those who tell the truth. My mouth is skilled at lying, and its alibi a tooth." The sons and daughters of Vivek and Molag Bal number in the thousands. The name of the mightiest of them is a string of power. Gulgamor Jil Hayat Ehum. The ending of the words is Elmsivi.
So we didn't read that before.
Sithis. Sithis is the start of the house. Before him was nothing. But the foolish Altmer have names for and revere this nothing. That is because they are lazy slaves. Indeed, from the sermons, stasis asks merely for itself, which is nothing. Sithis sundered the nothing and mutated the parts, fashioning from them a myriad of possibilities. These ideas ebbed and flowed and faded away, and this is how it should have been. One idea, however, became jealous and did not want to die. Like the stasis, he wanted to last. This was the demon Anu-El, who made friends, and they called themselves the Aedra. They enslaved everything that Sithis had made and created realms of everlasting imperfection. Thus are the Aedra the false gods, that is, illusion. So Sithis begat Lorkhan and sent him to destroy the universe. Lorkhan, unstable mutant. Lorkhan had found the Aedric weakness. While each rebel was by their nature immeasurable, they were, through jealousy and vanity, also separate from each other. They were also unwilling to go back to the nothing of before. So while they ruled their false dominions, Lorkhan filled the void with a myriad of new ideas. These ideas were legion. Soon it seemed that Lorkhan had a dominion of his own, with slaves and everlasting imperfections, and he seemed for all the world like an Aedra. Thus did he present himself as such to the demon Anu-El and the 8 givers as a friend. Go unto Sharmat Dagoth as a friend. E Hermea mon Altadun Padhom Lakan Ai.
I'm glad they gave that together because I probably would not have picked up the connection on its own. So yes, there is going to be some crafting to do here. Although I don't have any comberry. I should have thought of that. So there are a few things. I don't want to sell the items I was given for the quest, so... This I might wind up using at some point. It's the feather shield I want to sell. It would be nice to have something a little more matching, but... Alright, so I'll be able to do a little bit of shopping while I'm preparing. So right now I'm looking to pick up some comberries so that I can make some more restore magica potions. It's a nice evening out.
Greetings, Outlander. I see this land still soon.
Caius, please ask anything of Nalkira of Whitehaven. Nalkira of Whitehaven is happy to help a friend.
Alright, they do have money, so... I may not have needed to, but there you have it. Oh, but they may not sell comberry here now that I think of it. I do want Daedra skin, though. I don't mind picking up a few things that help me make other potions. Yeah, so no comberry to speak of, but I should be able to sell a bunch of potions that I don't need. And I'm not going to be too fussy about what gets sold. a little too much dough, but yeah. That's right, I need to be drinking this a little more often. So normally I would get rid of this, except that it doesn't have any weight, and it does actually have some use for me, so... So at this point, I think going into some of the levitates. Now, sadly, that didn't give me any comberries, so although while I'm at it, I can get rid of the expensive clothing.
Yes, Caius, can I help you?
You can indeed. I'm sure at some point I should probably clean out some scrolls as well. But for now, I'll worry about alchemy ingredients.
You're in good company, friend. Welcome.
Yes, you've been quite helpful, and if there's more you want to know, please ask.
Do you sell any materials? No, you do not. Thank you.
May you walk on
What does the
warm
Master Wizard ask of Ajira?
Comberry. Should you come to think of it, Heather will be kind of useful too. It's a lot of moon sugar. It's probably a little too much, yeah.
Welcome, friend. The day is yours. What shall we do? Oh, greetings. How do you do? May we talk?
Good friend, this is an honor.
I think we're gonna have a chat later. Do you have any comberry? We'll talk later. So I could sell them all my levitation potions, but I'd rather generate all the sale items first. So once we do this, I'll try and lighten my burden as much as I can. And then we'll head straight to the Ursulaku. Although I might want to see if Skink and Tree's Shade has, if their task is something on the way. the only other one I'm really interested in doing right now. The lab of the contract's already secure. I just need to inform them of it. Alright, first things first. Restore Magicka. Now I want to hang on to some vampire dust for experimentation, but I think I have. I think I have a decent amount set aside that I can use at least some of it. Alright, I've got 9. I probably should have left one of everything else, just in case I have too many. Doesn't seem like I need to worry about that, though. I seem to remember I was keeping the stone petals so that I could do fortify personality. I don't know if I have any fortify personality, though. Oh yeah, green lichen. Alright, I'm just trying to think if there's any other high priority production, or at this point I just start trying to make as many poisons as I can. So I know resist magic is a bit much to hope for, but let's see if we can do any drain agility or cure blight disease. Wow. I mean, resist magic is good, but holy smokes, this is hard to get rid of. So let's deal with the heather. I just bought a whole bunch of it, so drain personality. See whether or not there's anything after the shock resin I can use. Nope. Also, I should have dealt with this before, so Racer Plumes ideally drain willpower, but if I've got some trauma root, I'll also make the levitate. Actually a bit shorter on the Racer Plumes than I thought I would be. Alright, well, it's better than I thought it would be. What else do we have large amounts of? I'm gonna leave the mushrooms till the very end. Alright, and this is a... well... was it the Kwamaka? No, those traps. Alright, let's try drain strength. Oh, actually, before that, finally have a use for my wickweed. Oh, damage intelligence, that's different from drain intelligence. Never mind. Alright, let's see how much drain strength we can get without dealing with the Krampus meat. Oh, turns out it doesn't do strength anyway. Scatheclaw does. That's why I kept picking it up. So again, the reason we do the poisons first is just so I can, just so it's easier for me to find stuff to sell. Okay. Moving along. I either need to dig into the hound meat or I need to start using the other materials, so let's get that out of the way. As much restored fatigue as I can handle, I think. Unless I happen to have a reflect somewhere, I don't think that's gonna happen though. I might have some paralyzes I can work with, but I won't be too picky. Actually, before I do anything else, let's get those Kwama eggs out of here. Alright, at this point, I think the rest of this is, doing science or... Hang on, it shouldn't be so quick. Paralysis comes from unexpected places, it seems. Alright. So now I think I can start using, let's try Drain Fatigue for starters. Alright, do I have anything that does a damage intelligent, or drain intelligence? No, and I don't think I have any resist poison anymore. The rat meat would have given me that. While I'm at it, I don't think I have any restores left either, so we should get the rat meat. Yeah, that's dealt with. Probably be able to make something out of the rest of this, so again, I want to be careful about the order in which I do these things because I have a bunch of poison that I can make after. Wait. Alright, so I'm going to take it from the larger stacks first. So I need to work these down to 3. Oh, now it's 2. Well, that still works. Yeah, okay, I'm not doing this exactly the way that I planned, but I could still make something out of this. And the good news is I made a lot more poisons than I normally do. So it should be a little easier to sell these things. Or easier for me to find the things I want to sell, rather. Alright, last few steps. I just want to empty out my pockets of anything that I might not be using right away. So I'm gonna sell the feather shield. I'll keep this around just in case. Problem is I don't remember which of these I got through adventures and which ones were given to me as part of the initiation. I don't remember if I don't think I keep any scrolls aside for later use, so what I can do now, I will stop by some of the merchants. In fact, seems just as easy for me to rest up. Early start.
Greetings, Outlander. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Do you have something to say, Outlander?
I feel as though I've just awakened from a dream, a terrible dream of the 6th house.
All right, fine. Tell me more.
Thank you again. I'll tell everyone how you saved my life.
Please do. Maybe keep it to yourself on the Ordinators, though, huh?
So good to see you.
I wonder if she heard me say that.
I must say, I find you most interesting right
Welcome,
now.
adventurer. Looking
Please
for an
go
equalizer?
ahead.
Something to give you an edge against a superior opponent? What you need to do, and when you need to do a lot of damage in a hurry, you can't beat a poison blade. Try my inexpensive iron spider dagger and steel spider blade, or an imperial netch blade for even more bite.
It's not a very impressive shield. I'm sure I could have got away with a little bit more, but
Stay as long as you like.
Well met.
Caius, please ask anything of Clagius Clanner. Clagius Clanner is happy to help a friend.
Well, hello then.
Good to see you again, Caius. Please, whenever you're in Balmora, feel free to stop by. Now, what can I do for you? What?
Warm day to you.
No worries. I won't.
Welcome, friend. You're nearly a legend around here. Please, talk.
Are you here for scrolls, Caius? Or are you here for some other enchantments? Even soul gems. Whatever your enchanting needs, you've come to the right place.
alright, I'm pretty sure all of the gems are ones that I filled up, so that won't help me. But let's see if there's any scrolls I'm willing to part with. Oh yeah, definitely don't need that. These are quite expensive. Excellent. Alright. I can't recall. I think it's Eldaroon, which is the best Alright, so Margon. But before I do that, let's take a look at that other quest that I was on.
How an ordinary from Bel Air became a vampire and was cured. I would be most interested.
Ah, so I do actually have to, I think I'll
I'm
stop by
very happy
Vivek.
to make your acquaintance. Welcome.
Hail, Dunmer.
How are you?
It's pretty unlikely I'll find it here, but let's not rule out the possibility. What do you know of Caluritheri's paper?
I've heard of it, but I don't know where to find a copy. Try looking in Vivek.
That's what I was thinking.
How delightful.
The day is
The
mine.
day is yours.
I don't know
What
where
shall
to
we talk
begin.
about?
It is such an honor to meet you.
Now I need to remember where that rare book, Chobasha's rare books, I think it was. I think there's a way down here from inside this level, but I don't actually recall.
Ah, welcome. What is it, friend?
How are you?
Wait, I forgot.
Blessed we are.
Hello again, Kaist. I trust I find you well. Is there anything you'd like to ask about?
Let's, I could just check the, check the shelves. No, wrong person.
Move along.
What can Jorbasha do for you?
Let's talk about Galurithari's papers.
Jobasha has heard of this book. You might try looking in the library of the Hall of Justice here in Vivek. It's a well-hidden library that's guarded at all times, but you will find a copy there. Jobasha does not have a copy of this book.
Looks like I'm gonna have to,
blessed we are.
Looks like I'm probably gonna have to make some enemies doing this.
Tidings and good wishes to you.
So while I'm here, I might as well turn in the ebony. While I'm at it, maybe I'll just take a look in the St. Berto's Canton to see if I can find my other contact. Might be heading the wrong way, but
You flatter me with your
That
attention,
you'll find
Outlander.
especially useful out there.
I hope you have some good news about the ebony trade.
I do.
Thanks to you, the Empire may still buy all its ebony from House Lalu. Take these 1,000 drakes and a share of House Lalu's future profits.
Any more business?
A ship wrecked off of Azura's coast over a year ago. I need someone to find the wreckage of the Prelude. The ship was trying to go to land at a secret dock and is likely to be hard to find. I believe they crashed on an island east of Balfell. Start there, head due east, and look around the islands that you pass. Should be within 2 or 3 islands of Balfell. The ship was carrying a Daedric Wakizashi when it sank. Bring that Wakizashi to me, and you can keep anything else you find there.
I think I might have actually already been to this.
Hail, friend.
I could kill that choir. Those boots are
Tell me more.
Welcome to Vivet, Caius. I'm sure you have questions. What would you like to know?
I'd like to know more about that Guar. I can never remember which canton is which. So I think the lower levels actually do have some residential areas.
I'm Sivi, Caius. I'm Hora. Don't worry, Vivet can be confusing for us, and we live here. Is there some specific place that you want, or someone in particular that you're looking for?
Yes, but I don't think you know them. Do you know where I can find Drambaro?
I don't know where he lives, but I've seen him on top of St. Olms before.
Good enough for me.
Impressive. These clothes suit you well.
Do you know where I can find Drambaro? If he turns out to be your neighbor, I'm going to be very upset.
If there is anything
A warm welcome to you.
How are you?
I don't suppose he lives in the haunted manor. I'm able to pick that now, but
Do you have something to say, Outlander?
yes. Do you know where I can find Drambaro?
I can spare.
There is someone watching me, I can tell.
Excellent powers of deduction.
Impressive. These clothes suit you well.
So obviously, just because people say they've seen him at the top of they've seen him at the top of the canton doesn't necessarily mean he lives there. Do you know where I can find Drambaro? No, of course not. All right. I don't know if this makes a whole lot of sense to keep looking for him. I'd kind of assume that it would say his home. Alright, I won't go to the lower level. I will take a minute to see if there's any homes here, and failing that, changed my mind. I really want to see what's behind that locked door. Yeah, it wouldn't be in the... well... Okay, it's telling me the top of St. Home, so... there's no homes here. I mean, here's the thing. I could take a look at every single location in the, I could take a look at every single house. It is pointing me to the top. So I'll maybe just do a quick audit of each of the locations. I think this is the haunted. Yeah. This is the temple, so I don't expect much here. I won't bother behind the locked doors.
Three blessings, Sarah.
So I obviously won't. I'm not going to open the locked doors inside of places where people are living.
Welcome, friend.
Where is this? Yingling Manor.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome. Please speak.
Alright, I killed rats here.
Welcome. Please speak. Is there...
Alright, so I'll have to take a look for Trap Arrow another time. But as soon as I said, I'm not going to do it, I walked away and I was like, well, I actually have a chance to see what's in here. I think I already did the mission to get past the, or to exercise the place.
I'm fine, thank you. What can I do for you? Dram is my boss. If you want to talk business, talk to him. Where is he?
Aren't you a sight? What can I do for you?
Are you kidding me? Well, I guess he doesn't want to be found, so that's why it's on. Alright, fair enough.
I believe you are here to ask my support on the council.
You're very well informed.
I'm impressed that you found my manor. If I am to risk supporting you, I must know that you are strong as well as clever. I will offer my support if you best my champion, guarding the bold. Are you willing?
Of course.
Good. You may use any tactics at your disposal, but I would prefer that you spare his life. I will not insist on it. When you're ready, speak with my champion guarding the bold, and then meet him in the arena.
A warm welcome to you.
Alright, I would also prefer to spare his life.
You want a duel? You got a duel. Very well, meet me in the arena here in Vivek.
I'll go do that now because I'm still gonna have to come back down here for the book. I guess there must be a higher level. There didn't really seem to be that much to do here when I first came. This is something of a dramatic start. Wow.
Fool!
I'm rather bad at unarmed.
Fool! Run while you still can, child. You will die where you stand.
Pretty sure there's like a sleep. Alright, well here's what I'll do. I'll put him down a bit.
You're dead already.
Enough, Caius. You beat me fairly. I'll tell Dram what happened.
Thanks.
Say your piece or stand aside.
Recording this much earlier than I normally do, so I'm forgetting to turn off all my notifications and alarms.
By the
I believe you are here to ask my support on the council.
Whatever gave you that idea?
You defeated my champion fairly. I will support you on the council.
I see this land suits you. We welcome you freely, Outlander.
I'm trying to remember who told me to do that.
If you want to talk business, speak with Crassius Curio or Edrino Erethi.
Fair enough.
It's not bad when you know your way around, Caius. What are you looking for in Vivek?
Well, a book, but I don't think you'll be able to help me out with that. Alright, so I'm gonna head to the Hall of Justice. It's gonna be... I've never quite been able to get theft down properly. So I'm gonna need to practice a little bit. But I'm hoping to do it in a way that doesn't get me in too much trouble. Surely there's a way that I can make it from... Yeah.
How odd.
it the Hall of Wisdom or Hall of Justice? I can't remember. I thought it was Justice. I'm near certain I've been to that library.
What?
Sarah. You may speak.
Oh, no need to speak. Just admiring your library. Alright, I really need to put mute on all this stuff. See, I think the library's in the Hall of Wisdom. But before I do that...
What is it, Sarah?
Greetings, Outlander. Yes, Outlander.
Don't I
What
know
do you
you
want?
from somewhere?
It's a lot of copies of the Pilgrim's Path.
Go on about your business.
Ah, now Library of Vivek may be a different matter entirely. We'll start with that, though. They did say the library was hidden, so I might have to, I might have to do something underhanded.
Do I know you? Sarah.
Seem to remember this was the part where all the good stuff was.
Outlander.
Maybe these are a little more vanilla than I thought.
Do I know you?
All right. Back to
It's well hidden and guarded at all times, but you'll find a copy there.
I'm listening. Go ahead. Outlander, what do you want?
Oh, you know, I was just hoping for, hoping to find the library.
There's someone watching.
I don't mind sneaking into it. I do mind finding it in the first place. So, I mean, there might be a path up there from here, but I'm not... I feel like there's better things I could be trying first. It does interest me that there's... Oh, wait a minute. It's just going to be up a ramp, probably.
3 gods, 1 true faith.
It's still not the one I'm looking for. Yeah, here it is. So this is the same... It's the same place I was already.
Wealth beyond measure, Outlander.
Well, they weren't kidding when they said it was well hidden.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Outlander.
What is this about?
Where is that slave?
Right, I have been here then. So, there's the possibility that I can only access it through the underworks. Which I do seem to have already gone into, but not necessarily in pursuit of the library. Alright, well, if I want to go any further, I'm going to have to get wet. Now, to my eye, this just seems to be the exact same. Yeah, I'm sure I wind up in a different place in the Hall of Justice, but it's not at all clear to me that I wind up anywhere I wouldn't otherwise be. So I should probably commit this book to memory, because Actually, I'm just going to take a minute to write it down. Galur. Rithari. Keeps autocorrecting to value. Right. I think it's two entrances to the Hall of Justice, but again, it's not at all clear that either of those get me to the secret library. I will just pop up in the same spot I was before, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Now, one thing that weirds me out a little bit is how the Office of the Watch is, I think it's the one that I did the work for. It's a lot more spacious than the other rooms, so if there's... wait, I might have this wrong. Maybe it wasn't Justice Offices. I'm pretty sure it was Justice.
Haven't I heard of you?
Yeah, so this seems to be bigger than it.
You may speak.
Aha!
You may speak. You may... Must... Outlander. Do I know you?
Alright, it's gonna be a lot harder than I thought.
Yes,
Matsera.
Well, I see the invisibility worked real well. I did save, right? Just in case.
What was that?
I'm not actually invisible.
What is it, citizen?
Oh, it's probably because I have the reflect on.
You're not supposed to be here. Get out now. Nerevar at Red Mountain. The following is the form of Apocrypha, the hidden writings of the Tribunal Temple. It is a scholarly retelling of a tradition transmitted through the Ashlanders concerning the battle at Red Mountain and subsequent events. The Ashlanders associate this tale with the telling of Alandro Sul, a shield companion of Nerevar who came to live among the Ashlanders after the death of Nerevar and during the ascension of the Tribunal. There are many variant treatments of this story, but the primary elements are consistent throughout the tradition. The murder of Nerevar, the tragic fate of Dagoth-Ur, and the profane source of the Tribunal's divine power are denied by the Temple doctrine as ignorant Ashlanders' superstition and not widely known among civilized Dunmer. Resdayan, present-day Morrowind, was contested ground between two very different types of Mer, the Chimer, who worshipped the Daedra, and the Dwemer, who worshipped the profane and secret power. These two people warred with each other constantly until their lands were invaded by a young, vibrant, and violent alien creature, the Nords. Two heroes, one from the Chimer and one from the Dwemer, Induril Nerevar and Dumak Dwarfork, made peace between their people and together ousted the alien invaders. Then these two heroes worked long and hard to maintain that peace thereafter, though their counselors thought it would not last, or worse, that it shouldn't. Nerevar's queen and his generals, Almalexia, Sothasel, Vivek, told him to claim all of Resdayan for his own, but Nerevar would not listen, for he remembered his friendship with Dumak. There would only be peace. Until Dagoth-Ur arrived, House Dagoth had discovered the source of the profane and secret power of the Dwemer, the legendary heart of Lorkhan, which Dumak's people had used to make themselves immortal and beyond the measure of the gods. In fact, one of their high priests, Cagnarak, was building a new god so that the Dwemer could claim Resdayan for their own. The Tribunal urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumak, his friend of old, and asked if what Dagoth-Ur said was true. But Cagnarak and the high priests of the Dwemer had kept their new god secret from their king, and Dumak said that the Dwemer were innocent of any wrongdoing. Nerevar was troubled again and made pilgrimage to Holamaya, the sacred temple of Azura, who confided that all Dagoth-Ur said was indeed true, and that the new god of the Dwemer should be destroyed for the safety not only of Resdayan, but for the whole world. Then Nerevar went back and told his tribunal what the goddess had said. His queen and generals felt themselves proved right and again counseled him to war. There were reasons that the Dwemer and the Chimer had hated each other forever.
Just gonna pause for some refreshment.
Finally, Nerevar, angered that his friend Dumak would lie to him, went back to Vardenfell. This time the Chimer king was arrayed in arms and armor and had hosts around him, and he spoke harshly to Dumak Dwarfork, king of Red Mountain. "You must give up your worship of the heart of Lorkhan, or I shall forget our friendship and the deeds that were accomplished in its name." And Dumak, who had still known nothing of Cagnarek's new god, but proud and protective as ever of his people, said, "We shall not relinquish that has been our way for years beyond reckoning, just as the Chimer will not relinquish their ties to the lords and ladies of Oblivion. And to come at my door in this way, arrayed in arms and armor, and with your hosts around you, tells me that you have already forgotten our friendship. Stand down, my sweet Nerevar, or I shall swear by the 15 golden tons that I shall kill you and all your people." And so the Chimer and the Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortresses at Red Mountain, but the bravery and cleverness of Nerevar's queen and generals drew most of Dumak's armies out into the field and kept them there, so that Nerevar and Dagoth-Ur could make their way into the heart chamber by secret means. There Nerevar met Dumak and the Dwarf King, and they both fell from grievous wounds. Dagoth-Ur slew Cagnarak and took the tools the Dwemer used to tap the power of the heart. He went to his dying lord Nerevar and asked him what to do with these tools, and Nerevar summoned Azura again, and she showed them how to use the tools to separate the power from the heart of the Dwemer people. And on the fields the tribunal and their armies watched as the Dwemer turned into dust all around them, and their stolen immortality was taken away. Back in Red Mountain, Nerevar told Dagoth-Ur to protect the tools in the heart chamber until he returned. Dagoth-Ur said, "But shouldn't we destroy these tools at once so that they might never be used for evil again?"
I do think I might have read something like this before.
But Nerevar was confused by his wounds and sorrow, for he still loved Dumak and the Dwemer people, and so went to the fields outside of Red Mountain to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we should do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth-Ur, until I return." Then Nerevar told his queen and generals all that had transpired under Red Mountain, and how the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals and the wondrous power of the heart of Lorkhan. The The tribunal decided that the Chimer should learn how to use this power so that Nerevar might claim Rezdian and the world for their people. Nerevar did not expect or want this, so he asked his queen and generals to help him summon Azura yet again for her guidance. But the tribunal had become as greedy as Cagnarak upon hearing the power of the heart, and they coveted it. They made ritual as if to summon Azura as Nerevar wanted it, but Almalexia used poisoned candles, and Sothasil used poisoned robes, and Vivek used poisoned invocations. Nerevar was murdered. Then Azura came forth anyway and cursed the tribunal for their foul deeds. She told them that she would use her powers over dusk and dawn to make sure Nerevar would come back and make things right again. But the tribunal laughed at her and said that they would that soon they would be gods themselves, and that the Chimer people would forget their old ways of worship. And Azura knew that this would be true, and that it would take a long time before her power might bring Nerevar back. What you have done here today is foul beyond measure, and you will grow to regret it, for the lives of gods are not what mortals think, and matters that weigh only years to mortal weigh on gods forever. And so that they might know forever their wicked deeds, Azura changed the Chimer into Dunmer, and their skin turned ashen and their eyes into fire. Let this mark remind you of your true selves, who, like ghouls, fed on the nobility, heroism, and trust of their kings. And then the tribunal went into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth-Ur. Dagoth-Ur saw that what had been done, for his skin had changed as well, and he tried to avenge the death of Nerevar, but to no avail. He was driven off and thought dead. The tribunal found the tools that he had been guarding, and through study of Cagnarek's methods, turned themselves into gods. Thousands of years after the apotheosis, the tribunal are still the gods of Morrowind, and the old ways of worship are remembered only by a few. And the murder of Nerevar is known to fewer, but his queen and generals still fear his return, for the words of Azura linger long, and they see the mark of her curse on their people every day.
It's going to be very disappointing if it isn't in here.
I'm waiting.
It's really weird that I would go through so much effort to find a library that doesn't actually hold the book that it said. That it said it would be there, so I'm thinking I've just not.
Go on about your business.
I think I'm probably just not looking in the right spots. There it is.
By the three, my rights and duties.
Alright, I gotta see.
The battle at Red Mountain and the rise and fall of the tribunal. The following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivek addressed to a dissident priest, Malor Omayan, who confronted Vivek with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain and with prophecies of the Nerevarine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivek in interrogating the dissident priest.
Excuse me.
Who can clearly recall the events of the distant past, but you have asked me to tell you in my own words the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the Tribunal, and the prophecies of a Nerevar reborn. Here's what I can tell you. When the Chimer first abandoned the herds and tents of their nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra and worshipped them as gods, but our brethren the Dwemer scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals, and preferred instead the gods of reason and logic. So the Chimer and the Dwemer were always at bitter war until the Nords came and invaded Resdayan. Only then did the Chimer and the Dwemer put away their strife and join together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chimer and the General Dumak of the Dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. In that time, I was but a junior counselor to Nerevar, and Nerevar's queen, Almalexia, and his other favorite counselor, Sotha Sil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive, given the bitter disputes between Chimer and the Dwemer. But by negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Dumak somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Dagoth Lord of House Dagoth, entrusted as a friend by both Nerevar and the Dwemer, brought us proof that the High Engineer Cagnarak of the Dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorkhan, and that he had learnt how to tap its powers and was building a new god, a mockery of the Chimer faith and a fearsome weapon, we all urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves and to destroy this threat to Chimer beliefs and security. Nerevar was troubled. He sent to Dumak and asked if what Dagoth said was true, but Cagnarak took great offense and asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the Dwemer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Holmayan, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagoth said was indeed true, and that the creation of a new god of the Dwemer should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed and again counseled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust and friendship and reminding Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and the security of the Chimer against the impiety and dangerous ambitions of the Dwemer. Then Nerevar went back to Vardenfell one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace, but this time the friends of Nerevar and Dumak quarreled bitterly, and as a result the Chimer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Dumak's armies out into the field and pinned them there, while Nerevar, Dagoth and a small group of companions could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There, Nerevar and the Chimer King met Dumak, the Dwarf King, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds by draining magics. With Dumak fallen and threatened by Dagoth and others, Cagnarak turned his tools upon the Heart, and Nerevar said that he saw Cagnarak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace, but Cagnarak's tools remained, and Dagoth seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Cagnarak has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands." But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I have not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth, until I return." So Nerevar told Dagoth to protect the tools in the Heart Chamber until he returned. Then Nerevar was carried to us, where we waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us that all that had transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the heart of Lorkhan held wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from others present that Dagoth had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal. And no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel as he requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimer people, and who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm from which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore, we need to keep these tools, to study them and their principles, so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition, that we altogether should swear a solemn oath upon Azura that the tools would never be used in a profane manner, and that the Dwemer had intended. We all readily agreed, and swore solemn oaths at Nerevar's dictation. So then we went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth. Dagoth refused to deliver the tools to us, saying that they were dangerous and we could not touch them. Dagoth seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and then we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling of the tools. But now I feel sure that he had privately learned the power of the tools, and in some confused way decided that he must have them for himself. Then Nerevar and our guard restored to force resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow Dagothur and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sotha Sil for study and safekeeping. For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time, in secret, Sotha Sil must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries. And at last he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace, with justice and honor for nobles, and health and prosperity for commoners, and with the tribunal as immortal patrons and guides. And dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagnaruk's tools. And no sooner had we completed our rituals and begun to discover our newfound powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that our champion Nerevar, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy, and to make such profane knowledge, make sure that such profane knowledge might again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. So the Sil said to her, "The old gods are cruel and arbitrary, and distant from the hopes and fears of Myr. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding, inconsistent spirit. We are bold and fresh, and we will not fear you." And then in that moment, all Chimer were changed into Dunmer, and our skins turned ashen, and our eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at the time that this had happened to us, but Azura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate and the fate of your people, and all the Dunmer shall share your fate, from now until the end of time. You think yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness." And Azura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid, but we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build the new world of our dreams. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sotha Sil spoke to them, saying that it was not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and a sign of the special favor they might enjoy as new Myr. No longer barbarians trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized Myr, speaking directly to their immortal friends as and patrons, the three faces of the tribunal. And we were all inspired by Sotha Sil's speech and vision, and took heart. And over time we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honorable society in the land of Resdaya, new millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity unknown to other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, Dagothur had survived, and even as the light of our bold new world shined ever more brightly, beneath Red Mountain the darkness gathered, a darkness that was close kin to the bright light that Sotha Sil coaxed from the heart of Lorkhan with the tools of Kagnaruk. As the darkness grew, we fought it and crafted walls to confine it. But we never could destroy it, for the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. And in these latter days of Morrowind, reduced to a subjugated province of the Western Empire, as the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited, blind and in darkness, mere shadows, drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope of our deliverance. We do not know if the outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of the Nerevarine is our old companion Nerevar reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a cat's paw of Azura, or some simple twist of fate. But we insist you adhere to the temple doctrine and conform to the strictures dividing the hieroglypha from the apocrypha, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Act as a dutiful priest should in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against a god. Vivek.
I realize I'm being a bit of a scumbag here, but I'm just gonna have a quick drink. So, the scroll of invisibility hasn't been working, and I'm assuming it's because I have reflect on.
I found some papers by a Boygent Arbinger, Galarithari. In them, he gives hints as to how vampirism may be cured. It suggests that the cure may be obtained with the help of a Daedra prince, perhaps Molag Bal.
Wait, that's not the right one.
Private papers of Galur Rithari, Buoyant Armiger. Handwritten manuscripts bound as folios. Excerpt. Outnumbered and isolated, I yielded to my foe, the creature dressed like a gentleman, and I hoped for honorable treatment. Instead, I found myself a feast for a blood-drinking monster. Shamed by my corruption and despairing of my own welfare, I passively acquiesced in my gradual integration into the affairs of Clan Anunde. I made no human my prey, only beasts, and kept myself apart from the other clankin. Nonetheless, I abandoned hope and lived like a beast. Drawn by intimations of my former life, I visited my former post in Balur, hoping perhaps to atone in some of my crimes by preying upon its monsters, or perishing under their attacks. It is there that, by chance, I made a petition to the Lord of Troubles, Molag Bal, at an altar deep in the caverns beneath the pilgrim's shrine. I was surprised and thrilled and terrified when Molag Bal, or some aspect or agent of that Daedra lord, offered me a chance to cure myself of vampirism in return for a favor. However, with no hope for my soul or spirit unless I might be cured, I undertook this quest. Rithari sought and obtained a cursed soul gem of mysterious nature from a deep cavern on the northern slopes of Dagoth-Ur, delivering it to Molag Bal's shrine in Balur. I placed the gem within the basin before the altar and instantly experienced a blinding pain and terror that I cannot express in words, except that it seemed afterward that I had been asleep and dreaming, and that I was being sliced by thousands of tiny knives from my bowels inside out. I awoke before the altar and gazed in the reflection of my own sword blade at my own face, no longer a blood-seeking beast of teeth and empty eyes.
Alright. So, quick visit to the Lalugantan to see Crassus Curio. And then we'll deliver the book. It's already 6 p.m., wow. Looks like I'll probably have a night travel to the Ursulaku then. It's been a while since I've seen you out of your room.
A pleasure to meet you.
Glad you stopped by, Caius. I may have some business to discuss with you.
Let's talk about Drambero first.
Drambero will support you on the council, but he doesn't care about you like I do.
Alright, let's talk business then.
The naughty Telvanni also built a stronghold without a charter. Before the Duke grants this stronghold legitimacy, I want you to deal with the Telvanni sorcerer, Raynel Uverith. Telvanni's stronghold of Tel Uverith is built on Uverith's grave due west of Tel Fir and northwest of Erbison Camp. I'll mark these on your map. Don't be subtle, sweetie. Make sure that House Telvanni gets the message. You're the new Grandmaster of House Lalu, Caius. You even outrank your Uncle Crassus. How much further do you want to go?
May you find me worthy.
That was really just a little flourish. I wanted to see whether or not there was any more advancement. That sunset looks beautiful, but I do need to make it to the foreign quarter. Gives me a chance to practice.
Welcome, Outlander.
Welcome, friend. The day is yours.
I'd be happy to do it.
I'm Fulcatia Fauscius, the Imperial Guild Guide. I provide instantaneous transport between various mages' guild halls on Vardenfell. What is your destination? I can also help with local information. Do you need services? Are you looking for some specific place or for someone in particular?
Greetings to you. A pleasure to
First,
meet you.
save just in case.
An honor, to be sure. Well,
Special delivery.
Have you found a copy of Galur Rithari's papers?
Here they are.
Yes, this is excellent, Caius. A most interesting account. Please take this amulet with my gratitude. I am honored to have worked with you, Caius. I have one more task. Take this letter to Archmage Trebonus in Vivek.
All right.
Where's that slave?
Actually, I think I have two missions.
To the esteemed Archmage Trebonus Artorius, Guildmaster of Vardenfell. Upon receiving this letter, you will step down from your post and grant the title of Archmage to Caius. From this day forward, Caius will handle all guild matters in Vardenfell. You may keep the title of Archmage, but you will retire from active participation in the affairs of the guild. In the Emperor's name, Ocado.
Cool. I was gonna go to Aldrune first, but
What? You have a letter for me? Well, hand it over.
here it is.
Interesting. This letter says that I am to make you Archmage and retire. I do not know why Ocado would lose his faith in me, but I will do as he asks. But I will watch you, Caius, and make sure you do not betray the high principles of the Mages Guild. We now both have the title of Archmage. You wanted to speak to me about advancement? Am I ready for the next rank, Archmage?
All right. Well, that was unexpected, but So the Imperial Cult is one that I would need to work on, as well as the Fighters Guild. These aren't as high of a priority to me. I'll pursue them if I can, but not at all costs. What was that other? Oh, maybe I should visit Skink and Trees for trade first then.
Welcome. If you wish to talk, it
Yes,
is
you are
your
Archmage now. I will help you any way that I can.
Well, I find myself in pleasant company. Please share your thoughts.
This is kind of a waste of money, but I think I can afford it.
More interruptions, Archmage. Do you want more duties? Why are you here? Well, it would be inappropriate of me to give you orders, Archmage.
Sounds like an excuse.
Should you need something, I would be happy to oblige.
I can't remember how many fireballs I get away with here, but
Good day, stranger. Welcome to Aldrune. I'm the local caravaneer, and I can tell you about Siltstrider travel if you'll tell me. If you'll tell me your destination. Are you new to Aldrune? I would be happy to tell you about local services or help you find someone in particular. Is there a specific place in Aldrune that you're looking for?
just a trip to Margon, please.
Where would you like to go?
Yeah, so I got a little overzealous. Now let's Right, so the Foyata bounty had passed the Siltstrider. That was the part I wasn't sure about. Given the hour, I should probably just have some rest, but I didn't get that much done today, so let's push ahead and do what we can. Plus, I haven't seen the ghost fence in the at night. It looks much like it does during the day. always feel like I've made a mistake whenever I see this. I believe I just need to keep pushing past it, though. Of course, once I visit the Urshulok, it's entirely possible that they'll just tell me to go visit all the other places. But I definitely learned my lesson about not following the advice in the first place. I realize this is a bit of a waste of magicka, but I'm just looking for the practice with my, restoration. And, I certainly have no shortage of restore magicka potions. Scales are not bad for drain personality. Oh, Drowmax will give me fortify strength. I did not realize the benefit of fortify strength and speed until much later, so actually that reminds me I should find skills that advance speed. Athletics, unarmored. Short blade. Well, yeah, I can definitely see the short blade working. do this sometimes in Daedra hanging around here. I don't really have the gems to do the soul traps, but might be a good chance to get some weapons. These folks never hold class. Well, at least it's a dagger. I'm not sure what's coming after me at this point. Hopefully I don't bring it into the village. So I believe it's the wise woman that I need to speak to first. Alright then, apparently I don't have a quest.
I shall be your guide to the 7 trials on the path of the Nerevarine. Ask and I shall answer, with Azura's blessing. It once seemed a dream, but now it seems real. You have passed the 3rd trial, and you must pass the 4th trial and the 5th trial. They are much the same. Each Ashlander tribe, each great house on Vardenfell must choose you as war leader to unite the Dunmer against Dagothur's terrible menace. Each tribe must name you Nerevarine. Each great house must name you Hortator. You have come for guidance, and I will give it to you. The 4th trial is a stranger's voice unites the houses. 3 halls call him Hortator. When you've been named Hortator by each of the great houses in Vardenfell, come to me for further guidance. You will have passed the 4th trial.
Tell me more about being the Hortator.
When a greater enemy threatens, the great houses put aside their quarrels and choose a Hortator, a single war leader to lead all the houses. Only a great house council can name you Hortator, and all councils must agree. Speak with the Redoran councillors, Hlaalu councillors, and Telvenni councillors. Prove to them that Dagothur threatens. When you are named Redoran Hortator, Hlaalu Hortator, and Telvanni Hortator, only then will you be Hortator, the Hortator named in prophecy.
Alright, what about the Redoran councillors?
Go to Alderun, the chief town of the Redoran. They say the council meets under the shell of a giant emperor crab. The Redoran are proud and haughty, known as great warriors and great worshippers of the tribunal. Since they love the temple in Vivec, they cannot love you. The temple warriors hate the Nerevarine prophecies and will kill you if they see you. Be careful.
I don't think Hlaalu will be a problem, but tell me about them.
Go to Balmora, the chief town of the Hlaalu. I believe the councillors meet there in a great house with many rooms. The Hlaalu are soft and cowardly, sly and greedy. Their traitors are liars and cheats. Look behind the words they speak for the truths that they are hiding.
The Telvanni?
I am told that the wizards who speak for the Telvanni councillors may be found in a strange building in Saedrith Mora. The counselors themselves are ageless sorcerers living in the towers scattered all over Vardenfell. I know nothing about them except that they are old, terrible, and evil.
About Dagothur.
Dagothur is the devil and the enemy. Dagothur and his beasts and servants are the source of many evils that beset Dunmer and on Morrowind. Dagothur dwells in the fiery caverns beneath Red Mountain, served by his kin called ash vampires and by legions of deformed monsters.
Is there any difference between talking to the Redoran counselors and the Redoran Hortator?
I do not know the ways of the settled people, but I do know in the Council of Chiefs you must cultivate a friend and beware an enemy. Find one who is willing or is well disposed to you. Win him and use him to win others. The most powerful chief, he is likely an enemy since he loves power and hates to share it. Recognize your enemy and prepare for him.
And the Lalu.
The Lalu are great traders, keen for profit and subtle with words. It will be hard to find someone you can trust, perhaps impossible. You may have to fight with words to find the truth. Beware of tricks and lies. Seek behind appearances and look for hidden power. Be wary, be suspicious.
And the Telveni.
I do not know the ways of wizards. I have heard that they honor the tests of life and death as we do. The ones who live a long time. The ones who die are forgotten. They are old and strange and terrible. I know little, but I am afraid, and that is my counsel to you. Be afraid. It is no time to be bold and careless. It is no time to hoard your treasures. With wizards, there are no second chances.
Tell me about the 5th trial.
The 5th trial is A Stranger's Hand Unites the Velothi. 4 tribes call him Nerevarine. The 4 tribes are 4 tribes of Vardenfell, the Ursulaku, the Amimusa, the Zainib, and the Erbasinim. When you have been named the Nerevarine by each of the 4 Ashlander tribes of Vardenfell, come to me for further guidance, for you will have passed the 5th test.
Alright, tell me about each of the tribes then.
The Ursulaku are the Ashlanders of the Northern Ashlands and the West Gash. I am the wise woman of the Ursulaku, and Ashken Sul Matul is our chief, a brave and respected war leader, and warrior protector of the Nerevarine cult.
And the Amusa.
The Amusa of the Grayslands are mild and peace-loving. The wise woman of Amusa, Sinmanu Mirpal, is also their Ashcan.
The Zainib.
The Ashlanders of the Zainib tribe are sly and crafty. Their camp is in the interior of the Grayslands.
And the Arabenimson.
The Arabenimson of Molag Mar love themselves and their weapons above all else. Their Ashcan, Ulath Pal, is cruel and ambitious, and his Gulkans are just like him. The wise woman, Maniri, is cautious and reasonable. Seek her counsel, and don't waste your speech on the Warkans. You must go to Ashkan Sul Matul to be named the Ursulaku Nerevarine. I am confident that he will approve you, but I'm sure he has things he wishes to say beforehand. You must go to Zainab camp. The Ashkan of Zainab, Kashad, is a strong and popular chief, but he is known to be vain and hard-headed. To persuade him to name you Zainab Nerevarine, you must be strong, yes, but you must also be clever to please him and earn his favor. You must go to the Amusa camp. I have heard that the Amusa are in a pitiful way, and they do not have an Ashcan. In this case, the wise woman will be acting as chief of the tribe, and perhaps she can speak for the tribe to name you Amusa Nerevarine. You must go to the Arabenimson camp. The Ashcan of the Arabenimson, Udith Paul, is a strong chief, but violent and cruel. He and his Gulkans are known as killers and attack unarmed victims and betray the rules of hospitality. It is a difficult problem. Only the Ashcan can name you Nerevarine, but this Ashcan may not be willing, and even if he were, he is a bad chief, dishonorable, and not to be trusted. I do not know what you should do. Speak with the tribe's wise woman, and perhaps she will give you counsel.
Becoming Hortator sounds like the easier path.
You've passed the 3rd trial. Before you lies the 4th trial and the 5th trial. I have spoken with Nibani Masaya, and I know these trials. You wish to be called Ursulaku Nerevarine, but first, would you hear the counsel of Sul Matul?
I would.
Good. First, I would give you a warning. When you are called Nerevarine, the word must spread, and many must hear. Your enemies will hear and come seeking your blood. And such friends as you may have among the great houses, those who heed the words of the temple, they may forget their love for you. If you have business with the people of the houses and temple, you may wish to conduct that business first, before you are named Nerevarine. Second, I tell you to seek the counsel of wise woman Nibani Masaya, for you are an outlander and ignorant of the ways of our people. Nibani Masaya can tell you of the other tribes, of their ways and of their ashcans. If you do not know these things, you will make many mistakes and waste precious time. That is my counsel. Now, if you wish to be named Ursulaku Nerevarine, we may speak of these things. Very well. You will be called Nerevarine. I know you, and I am disposed to do so. But first we must speak of need and duty. Before I name you Nerevarine, you must understand why a war leader is needed, so you may tell others. And before I name you Nerevarine, I must also see that you know your duty. Only when we have spoken of these things shall you be called Nerevarine. Know the words of the prophecies. The curse of Dagoth-Ur and the Sixth House threatens our land. The false gods lie and offer false hope of protection. You bear the moon and star of Nerevar. Azura's hand is upon you. These are the proofs that you must show to the people as the Ursulaku Nerevarine.
Tell me more about the curse of Dagoth-Ur.
From the unmourned house have come the fourth and seven curses. The sixth house is a great evil and a great danger to all people. This is the need. You have seen this need. You have fought the sixth house. You have known the curse of Corpus. You have harrowed Kogorun and seen the darkness that lies within. When you tell your story, others must be shown the proofs. Gorgoron was an agent Dunmer's stronghold. Here, let me mark it on your map. Go by day in good weather, or you may miss your way. Follow the coast east from Ursulaku Camp to the ruined Dunmer stronghold called Velinvarian, and then turn southwest. You'll see Ebernite, a ruined Daedric shrine. Continue south to Ebernite to Kogorun, a great table of stone with many ruined buildings. There are many rooms. The passages are old and deep. Beware, beneath are caves with pools of fire. It is a bad place. Go prepared.
Now tell me about the need.
Know the words of the prophecies. The curse of...
Sorry, not the need. Duty.
You shall be Nerevarine of all tribes and Hortator of the great houses. You shall eat the sin of the unmourned house and free the false gods. You must defeat the sixth house, Dagoth-Ur. And Dagoth-Ur. You must free the tribunal from their curse. This is the burden of prophecy, and it shall be your duty as Ursulaku Nerevarine.
Tell me more about the false gods.
You've learned the lies of the tribunal and the false hope that they offer of protection from Dagoth-Ur. We've heard the priest's own words for the Apocrypha, and know them to be true. We have heard the words of the dissident priests, and know them to be true. The false gods have broken their promises, and have taken up the tools of the enemy. This is a great evil, a great danger. Before my hearth and kin, and before the people of the wastes, I name you Ursulaku Nerevarine, war leader of the Ursulaku and protector of the people. In token of this, I give you the teeth, which shall be assigned to all Dunmer, that you are the Nerevarine, and that Ursulaku shall follow you in all things, even unto death, until the enemy is defeated, or until you are dead, or until you give them back into my hand.
So I'm hoping that didn't mess with my relationship with Red Ren and such. We'll test that in a second.
Right, Nibani Masaya has reminded me of the fourth trial and seven vision. The stranger's voice unites the houses. 3 halls call him Hortator. When I have been named Hortator by each of 3 great houses of Vardenfell, I will have passed the fourth trial, and should return to Nibani Masaya for further guidance. When a greater enemy threatens the great houses, the great houses put aside their quarrels and choose a Hortator, a single war leader to lead all the houses. Only a great council can name a Hortator, and all councils must agree. Nibani Masaya says I must go to the Redoran Council, Halu Council, and Telvanni Council to prove each that the threat of Dagoth-Ur warrants uniting under a Hortator, and persuade each to name me Hortator. This is how I must pass the fourth trial. Nibani Masaya reminded me of the fifth trial of the 7 visions. A stranger's hand unites the Velothi. 4 tribes call him Nerevarine. The 4 tribes are the 4 tribes of Vardenfell, the Ursulaku, Amusa, and Zainab, and the Arabanimson. When I have been named Nerevarine by each of the 4 Ashlander tribes of Vardenfell, I will have passed the 5th trial, and should return to Nibani Masaya for further guidance. In times of great danger, the Ashlander tribes unite under a single war leader. If I can prove to the Urshalaku, the Amusa, Zainib, and Arabininsum tribes that I am the Nerevarine, and that the tribes must unite against the threat of the Sixth House, then each Ashcan will declare me Nerevarine and war leader of all the tribes. This is how I must pass the 5th trial. I must go to all the tribal Ashcans, but my friend Sul-Matul should be the first and easiest to persuade. Sul-Matul has warned me that the people of the great houses in the temple may be hostile when I am known as the Nerevarine. He also suggests that I take counsel with Nibani Masaya about the ways of the Ashlander tribes and their Ashcans, for I am an outsider and unfamiliar with Ashlander ways. Before Sul-Matul will name me Nerevarine, he first wishes to recite the needs and duties of the Nerevarine, so that I may tell others. Sul-Matul recites the need for the Nerevarine in 3 parts as follows. First, the curse of Dagoth-Ur and the 6th houses threatens our land. Second, the false gods lie and offer false hope of protection. Third, I bear the moon and star of Nerevar. The first need and proof of the Nerevarine is the curse of Dagoth-Ur in the 6th house. Because I have fought the 6th house, because I have suffered Corpus, and because I have harrowed Karagun, I can tell others, and my story shall serve as proof of the need for the Nerevarine. These are the duties of the Nerevarine, as described to me by Sul-Matul. I shall be the Nerevarine of all the tribes, and Hortator of the great houses. I shall eat the sin of the unmourned house, and free the false gods. I must defeat the 6th house and Dagoth-Ur. That is clear enough. I must free the tribunal from their curse. I think that means free them from their use of Kagnarak's profane tools. The lies of the tribunal and the false hope they offer of protection from Dagoth-Ur are the second proof of the need of the Nerevarine. The false gods have broken their promises and have taken up the tools used by the enemies of Kagnarak and Dagoth-Ur. Since the tribunal can no longer protect Morrowind from Dagoth-Ur, the Nerevarine must shoulder that burden. Sul-Matul has named me Nerevarine, war leader of the Urshalaku and protector of the people. He has given me the teeth of an enchanted heirloom of the tribe, which shall be assigned to all Dunmer that the Urshalaku have named me Nerevarine.
Again, I probably should have saved before, So I'd like to recall, but I don't think I have the magicka for it. Oh, that's a shame. So as suggested, we'll deal with the councils first. I probably should have taken the yeah, sorry. Before I do that, I am going to take the opportunity to drop off some items. So I'm not going to do any alchemy, I'm just going to make sure that I drop off any surplus. Alright, until I start clearing out some more stuff, I don't think there's much more I can hope for.
blessings, sir.
Maybe I do need to speak with the counselors in,
Outlander,
In Vivek.
I've heard much about you. Would you have need of my services?
I mean, getting to Vivek will be easy enough.
What was that?
Well, friend, what brings you here?
Alright. This is really just, so I can get some extra cash. I'm not going to put too much into messing around with the numbers.
What do you want?
How delightful. Welcome.
Our sugar is yours, friend.
Cottonberry, please. Thank you. Alright. It's probably not, yeah.
I must say, I find you most interesting right now. Please go ahead.
I'm gonna try Alderun first, actually, just because I want to talk to the Redoran counselors.
How about sharing the wealth? Welcome. Please don't be shy.
I'm an officer of the Imperial Law. Move along.
Alright, well, they don't automatically hate me yet. Oh, actually, it just occurred to me that there's a mission, Lalu Hortator, already in the,
I've been given recent edition of the Yellow Book of Great House Lalu. It lists the current Lalu counselors and their residences. Elena Dorvin told me that I should speak with Crown. Okay.
This might involve a little bit of legwork.
Talk is free. What do you want?
Tell me more about House Redoran.
The Redoran counselors have entrusted me with the responsibility of examining those who wish to serve our house. Do you wish to join House Redoran?
I do not. Tell me more about the counselors, though.
The Redoran counselors are among the most distinguished and honorable Dunmer in Morrowind. Here, perhaps you'd like to review a recent edition of the Red Book of Great House Redoran. It lists the current Redoran counselors and their residences.
Very helpful.
Red Book of the Great House Redoran. The Red Book is a yearbook of the affairs of the Redoran Council of Vardenfell District for the 3rd Era 426. It lists the current members of the council and their residences. It also chronicles significant events and council actions for the year. Councilors of House Redoran, Vardenfell District, Imperial Era 426. Archmagister Lloyd Bolvin Venom, by grace of Elmsevi, Chief Councillor of Redoran District, Vardenfell District. Lord Aldaroon of Bolvin Manor, Manor District Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Master Lord Minor Erobar, by grace of Elmsevi, Honored Councillor of Redoran District, Vardenfell District, Lord of North Gash, of Erobar Manor, Manor District, Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Master Lord Claren Remoran, by grace of Elmsevi, Honored Councillor of Redoran District, Redoran Council, Vardenfell District, Lord of West Gash, of Remorn Manor, Manor District Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Mistress Lady Bara Morvayan, by grace of Elmsevi, Honored Councillor of Redoran Council, Vardenfell District, Lady of Margan, and Morven Manor, East Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Master Lord Athan Serethi, by grace of Elmsevi, Honored Council of Redoran Council, Vardenfell District, Lord of Southgast, Serethi Manor, Manor District, Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Master Lord Garisa Lethiri, by grace of Elmsevi, Honored Councillor of Redoran District, Vardenfell District, Lord of the Northern Ashlands, of Larethi Manor, Manor District, Aldaroon, District of Vardenfell, Province of Morrowind. Council Affairs of Note. King Hlalu Athan Lethen, High Councillor and Lord of Morrowind, imposes favorable tariffs on Flynn, an imported fortified imperial alcoholic beverage. The Council protests the continuing burdensome tariffs on the native beverages Sujama, Grief, and Sheen. Smuggling and organized crimes have become increasingly aggressive and violent in Redoran House districts. The councillors blame local corruption, weakened enforcement, and aggressive competition between the Thieves Guild and the Kimona Tong. An unfortunate tax revolt in Balmora was put down after significant property damage and loss of life. The council warned that such disturbances might spread to Aldaroon if the heavy burden of imperial taxes were not alleviated.
So I suspect I'm not going to find any counselors inside here, but...
Caius, false incarnate, agent of the Emperor, outlaw, unbeliever. House Redoran knows how to deal with outlanders like you.
Well, you won't refuse to train me, I guess.
Is there something you need?
Is there something I can do for you? Is there something you need?
I am Brara Morvayan, Councillor of House Redoran. Is there something that I can do for you? If you want to join House Redoran, speak with Niminda in the Redoran Council Hall. You should consult the recent edition of the Red Book of the Great House Redoran if you want to see the councillors. It lists the current Redoran councillors and their residences.
Let's talk about becoming the Hortator.
A Hortator is a Great House war leader. Why do you ask?
How are they chosen?
Only the Redoran councillors can choose a Hortator for House Redoran, and it must be unanimous. The Hortator's duty is defined by ancient custom, but in essence, a Hortator is a house champion who must be skilled in combat and known for courage and honor. Hortator is more a chief hero than a general. The councils plan and approve strategy. It's a terrible system. The legions aren't like that. The generals ignore the politicians and win the wars, but a Hortator leads by doing. The champion who wins every battle and inspires by example. The hero who challenges and defeats an opposing hero in single combat. Doesn't have to be polite or smart or even a nice person. Just has to win and make others want to win. If I had any reason to trust you, your story would worry me, but right now you worry me more than your story. I don't think I can help you. I'm troubled. In politics, I expect subtlety and deceit, but not from my temple. I believe your story. Your ring is genuine, and you have the makings of a hero about you. But I do not know you, and I cannot trust blindly. I must consider your request and share my concerns with the other counselors. That's all I can say for now. Morvine was troubled by my story, but seemed to believe it. She doesn't know me or trust me. She said that she would consider my request and share her concerns with the other counselors.
Let's try and make the most of this bug musk.
You bring me good fortune, Outlander. How may I be of service?
I see this land suits you. Welcome, friend.
That was Smith.
Welcome, friend. Are you the one I've heard talk about?
Thought I might find more houses.
Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need?
Alright, let's go take a look at the Red Book again. So it looks like the rest of them say Manor District, so I may not be reasonable for me to expect any other counselors inside here.
Yes, Outlander, what do you want?
I should probably count, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 more.
Is there something you need? Yes, Outlander.
I should probably have a clear idea of who I'm trying to talk to. So, is Erebar actually someone that I want to talk to? Yes.
Is there something in our city that I need?
Yes, Outlander, what do you want? Go ahead, Outlander, what do you need?
Is there something you need?
Is there something I can do for you?
Caius, false incarnate, agent of the Emperor, outlaw, and unbeliever. House Redoran knows how to deal with outlanders like you. You must explain why you've come here, and quickly. No speeches or excuses. Use your words with care, for I am a counselor of House Redoran and a very busy man with many duties and responsibilities. I'm not one to stand by idly while others chatter on and on about the most trivial of subjects.
All right, let's talk about House Hortator.
A Hortator is chosen by consensus, and everyone has to agree. A single no is a veto. First, a great house has to choose a Hortator, and then a Hortator has to persuade the other great houses to agree to name him Hortator of their houses, too. You came to tell me that you are the incarnation of Indoril Neverar. Azura spoke with you in a cave and told you that because you are the reincarnation of Nerevar, that you must become the Hortator of all three great houses. And that is why you are standing here now, telling me this story of the tribunal stealing power from a god's heart with Dwemer tools, and that Dagoth-Ur is not dead, but even now plots to conquer Morrowind with the power of this alleged heart. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Normally I would believe you mad and call a priest to attend to you, but I am a gods-fearing faithful servant of the temple, and I have heard the story of the moon and star. Your story troubles me, and I am tempted to believe, but I must consider Beryl Sala's accusations, and you have little proof. And I am reluctant to give such responsibility to a stranger. I will consider what you have said and consult with the temple and my fellow counselors.
It's a start.
Is there something? What do you think of our city? Is there something I can do for you? Is there something you need?
Yeah, I'm going the wrong way.
Three blessings, Sarah.
I thought it would be where all the guards were standing, but I was wrong.
Is there something I can do? I can spare a few moments, if you care to talk. How are you?
The person in the best outfit, and I completely missed him.
Unless you have some important business to discuss, Outlander, I suggest that you leave. The Hortator is a war leader and a champion chosen by a great house council. Why? You're a fool, an ignorant, ill-mannered outlander fool, and I'd rather make a monkey Hortator. As long as I am the head of this house, you will never be Hortator. Asked Bolven Venom to name me Hortator. He was indignant and refused to hear my story or consider my proof. He was quite clear he will never consent to my being chosen as Hortator of House Redoran.
I'm hoping I didn't screw this all up. I'm also gonna guess the bug musk won't fix it, but...
I've not changed my mind about you, Outlander.
Oh wow. There's nothing I can do to convince him.
Are you trying to manipulate me? Do you take me for a fool? Do you think I can be so easily won over? You're a fraud, cunning for an outlander, but a complete fraud. No, you will never be Hortator. I will not permit it.
All right.
What do you want, Outlander?
I wonder if there's a way I can get rid of him as a... Yeah, this guy dislikes me every single time I say something to him. All right.
Who are you?
Well, I'll have to see how I can persuade the others.
May you find all that you seek.
I suppose it did say I needed to find a friend.
Is there something you need?
I just kind of assumed that moving forward is the most important room, but that may not actually be true.
As a counselor of House Redoran, I'm a very busy man. I hope this is important.
Is there something about the Caldera Ebony mines I need to worry about?
Said, find a way to halt the mining of the Emperor. I have faith that you'll find a way. Okay.
Well, it's kind of already happened, but...
How do you expect anyone to believe such a story? All this about prophecies and reincarnated heroes and Daedra lords appearing in caves. I've also heard that you are an Imperial spy, but enough talk. I judge a man by his actions, and I don't know much about yours. I will speak with the other counselors, but that is all that I will promise.
I think you're a thief because you've stolen mine.
I do like that line. Alright, I don't remember which side
You'll bring me to fortune.
Is there something I can do for you? Is there something I can do
What
for
do you think of our city, Outlander?
I am Ethan Serethi, Counselor of House Redoran. What can I do for you? You've told a remarkable story. It has a ring of truth. You may have been deceived, but I believe you. I may be able to persuade the other counselors to believe you as well, but as a condition of my support, I require a favor. Rescue my son, Varvar Serethi, from Venom Manor. Yes, my son. He's being held in Venom Manor, which is the first manor to your right when you enter Scar. I've heard Bolvin Venom is keeping him in the right wing of his manor. You must be careful not to kill Bolvin Venom himself, or the other counselors will turn against you. He's a strong leader and has done great things for House Redoran. How can I explain the hold he has over the hearts of the Redoran people? He brought us back from certain defeat. He moved the council here to Vardenfell and took our share of the frontier lands. He's a natural leader, born to rule. Only one wishes that he was just and fair as well as strong.
Is there something I can What do you think of our city, Outlander? Yes, Outlander. What do you want? Three
What
blessings,
do you
sir.
want, Outlander?
It's probably all guard quarters.
Is there something I can do?
Should have paid attention.
I'm Lyran Remoran, Lord of Westgash, Counselor of House Redoran. And who exactly are you?
I'd like to become the Orator.
I'm not interested in listening to a long story, and I don't like long stories or Imperial spies.
Walk with virtue, Outlander.
What about now?
That's a good story, and it has an impressive ring. You look like a hero, but you're an outsider, and I don't know if I can trust you, especially when the Honorable Beryl Sala claims that you are an Imperial spy. Let me talk to the others, and I will consider what you have said, but that is all that I can promise.
Walk with virtue, Outlander. suppose there's no harm. Hello, Outlander. May I help you? Is there something I can do for you?
So as indicated, we need to avoid killing the counselor. That's not the...
What can I do for you?
Oh, come on. Looks like I'm stuck. I really don't want to have to use recall.
I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. It is such an honor to meet you.
It's none of your business, Outlander.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm not going to convince anyone on that.
Melissa, I keep our special guest in a room behind the tapestry. Make sure the door is locked and that he is under guard at all times. If he escapes, I will blame you. Did my father send you? Are you here to rescue me? Should we travel together back to Serethi Manor?
We should. And get ready to run.
So good to see you.
Run for your lives! This is going to be fun to navigate. Alright, it wasn't that bad.
Thank you.
May I help you? Yes, Outlander. What do you want? Is there something you need?
Talk to my father, Athan Serethi.
Yes, Outlander. What do you want?
Got this wrong again, didn't I? Wait. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Outlander. What do you want? May I
Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need?
Yes, my son, Varvar Serethi. You've returned him to me. I am in your debt. You've rescued my son, and I am forever in your debt.
So...
You're rescuing my son. Words cannot express my gratitude. Therefore, I name you Hortator of House Redoran. I also promise that I will use my influence with the other counselors of House Redoran. Alas, there is one obstacle, Bolvin Venim. We'll never name an outlander Hortator, but if you have the full support of the council, he may agree to an honorable duel. The duel is an honorable tradition dating back to at least the founding of Rizdayan. Each party to the duel makes an agreement as to the compensation that will be given to the winner. The loser is legally bound to this agreement. Most duels are fought until one party admits defeat or falls in battle. The duel to the death is less common and only ends when one party is dead. The winner of a duel may take what he wants of the loser's possessions, but some consider this dishonorable.
I have a feeling I know how this is gonna end.
Is there some ahead, Outlander? What do you need?
Athan Serethi has spoken of your good judgment, and I trust him. I will vote for you as Hortator of House Redoran.
Go ahead, find all that you...
So let's see if we can secure the rest of the votes before we finish tonight.
Is there something you need? Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need?
I spoke with Athan Serethi, and he told me about you. You get things done and show good judgment. Your story is crazy, but your story doesn't matter to me, as long as you can do something about Dagothur and his servants. I'm making you my choice for Hortator of House Redoran.
I should have kept count of the counselors I talked with. I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, we don't want to go there.
Yes, Outlander. What do you want? Yes, Outlander. Where is that slave?
I've spoken with Athan Serethi, and he believes your story and says that you can be trusted. I have known Athan Serethi since he was a child and have absolute faith in his judgment. Please accept my apologies for not seeking you out and accepting you at once. Forgive me also for believing these rumors about you being an Imperial spy. You have my vote. Minor Erebar hereby confirms Caius as Hortator of House Redoran. Tell the other counselors that I have given you my blessings.
So we've got one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one will be inside of the council chambers, and then we can attempt the duel.
What do you think of our city? Is there something you need?
This was a mistake.
Can I help you out? Do you need something?
Wait. I need to make sure I have the right, quarters. It's, Morrowind. No, that was the right one.
What do you think of our city, Outlander?
Athan Serethi says he believes your story and believes that you can be trusted. I still have my doubts, especially with these rumors that you are a spy for the Empire. But life cannot be lived without risks. I agree we need a Hortator, and I can see no better candidate than you. So let the record show that that Councillor Morvayan confirms Caius as Hortator of House Redoran.
And now, the fun part.
What do you think of our city, Outlander?
Can't wait to get out of it.
Can I help you out? Do you need something?
Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need?
I don't even know the right ordering anymore, but
Is there something
I'm really worried about doing something irreversible. I'm also slightly worried that I did the wrong bit rate again, but I know if I check, it's gonna ruin the recording, so come on. I'll levitate if I have to, damn it. I wonder if I can just take out the guy and claim it was an honorable duel.
Yes, Outlander. I can spare a few moments, if you care to talk.
We meet again.
So you have the support of all the other councillors for the title of Redoran Hortator.
And I would like your support as well.
You've played your tricks with the other councillors, but they will not work on me. This has gone far enough. If you're not a coward as well as a fraud, I will put a stop to your ambitions in the arena in Vivek. I will meet you there if you dare face me in a duel to the death.
To the death? My pleasure.
Wolven Venom has challenged me to a duel at the arena in Vivek.
Well, I suppose I can find a little time to head out there.
Do you have something to say, Outlander?
Welcome, friend. The day is yours.
Vivek, please.
Welcome, friend. The day is yours. What shall we talk about?
Get out of my way. I am half tempted to put a recall spell just on the other side of her. She's willing to let me climb over her rather than move out of the way. So this time I'll try to remember to enter. You know what? Dramatic entrance. I was gonna go in through one of the normal entryways, but it's a lot more exciting if I do it leaping from the stands.
Need not be afraid. My anger is reserved.
Where'd he go? Oh. Are you serious? Is that a Daedric Diatana? I commend your taste.
I've killed Bolvin Venom in a duel. It was unfortunate, but there was no alternative. I should speak with Aethan Sarathi again to be named Hortator.
Probably just as easy for me to recall. So this one just winds up in a big pile. I've already got the full set laid out. Yeah, I also already had one of these. Wasn't sure if I did, so. Well, I do have some cranberry, so I don't want to spend too much time on alchemy, but gets me a head start. Don't really think I need the red book anymore. But I am gonna get a rest. And while it's tempting to go and sell some items in the Alchemist, I think I'm just gonna head straight to Alderaan so I can claim that I'm the Hortador to hang on. I do want the yellow book though. I wonder if there's anybody in Balmora that I should see. So I've got Vivek, Balor. Huh.
May you find me worthy. 3 blessings.
So ultimate Redoran was the one that I was most worried about because of their attachment to the temple and the old ways. I might stop for Comberry on my way to Alderaan.
Oh, greetings. How do you do? Maybe
There is someone watching.
welcome, friend. The day is yours.
What does the Archmage ask of Ajira?
Oh, wow. Alright,
Warm day to you, friend.
I must say,
I suppose while I'm at it I can,
Please go ahead.
yeah, it looks like there is some more. So again, I don't want to spend too much time bartering, but this is something that I can use to make my life a little bit easier.
Well, I find myself in pleasant
How about
company. Please.
sharing the wealth? How fare thee, friend?
See, the weather hasn't let up since I left.
City,
It was, Serethi to...
is there something? Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need? What do you think of our city, Outlander?
I was thinking those guys might, want recruitment in the Mages Guild.
You have my attention, Outlander.
I will give you my support as Redoran Hortador. I will try to use my influence with the other counselors.
Well, about that.
The Council of House Redoran is in agreement. You are the Hortador of House Redoran. I hope that you are successful in persuading the rest of Morrowind to unite against Dagoth and his blighted hosts. On behalf of House and Council, take the Ring of the Hortador, a token of your office. By this ring, others shall know you as our chosen champion. I also have a sealed package for you. I do not know what it contains, but I received it from a contact in the highest ranks of the temple. My guess is that it has something to do with the temple's position on your claim to fulfill the Nerevarine prophecies. And here is a copy of a recent public notice identifying you as an Imperial agent. I am satisfied of your sincerity, but I warn you that others may not be so understanding. Arthur Serethius showed me a public notice revealing that I am an Imperial agent. He did not ask for an explanation. He said that he was satisfied that I was sincere, but he said that others might not be so understanding. Athan Serethi gave me a sealed package containing a message sent on behalf of Archcanon Sarioni, High Archcanon of Vivek. In the event that I become both Hortator of the three great houses and the Nerevarine of the four Ashlander tribes, Sarioni invites me to a private meeting to consider my claims. Once I am Hortator and the Nerevarine, I should speak with the healer of the High Fane of Vivek, Danso Indulus, to arrange the meeting. I have been named Hortator of House Redoran by Redoran's counselors. When I have been declared Hortator of all three houses, Redoran, Halalu, and Telveni, I will have fulfilled the fourth trial of the 7 visions of the 7 trials of the Incarnate. When Athan Serethi named me Redoran Hortator, he gave me an enchanted ring, a token of my office called the Ring of the Hortator. By this ring, others shall know me as House Redoran's chosen champion. A package sealed with an anonymous wax seal containing a single-page, unsigned note on the cover of the package to the Outlander lately proclaiming his identity as the Nerevarine to be delivered with haste. The note itself. The assertions made being in direct contradiction of the doctrine of the Tribunal, namely that you are the Nerevarine, the reincarnation of the sainted Lord Nerevar, are, in addition to being against temple teaching, incredible and implausible in the extreme. The revelations made by the Inquisition, namely that you yourself are in fact an agent of the Imperial Intelligence Service, otherwise known as the Order of Blades, largely made with substantial evidence by the Lord High Ordinator, Beryl Sala, further calls into question the validity and motivations behind your claims. However, as incredible as your claims are, as much as they are in direct contradictions of the teachings of the Temple, and tainted as they are by inferences to be made upon your close association with the covert policies and interests of the Emperor, the interests of the Temple and its leadership, and in particular the interests of his immortal lordship Vivek, are best served by a close and personal examination of the claims being made, and close and personal examinations of the motivations and character of the claimant. The Temple, through its examinations of its records, in particular the records of the Hieroglypha and the Apocrypha, is intimately familiar with the many and varied claims of signs and feats that would mark the Nerevarine according to prophecy. Therefore, in the event of the fulfillment of certain of those most remarkable and scarcely credible claims, namely that the claimant should, at one time, be an acknowledged holder of several ancient titles of power and authority of the Dunmer people, to wit, Hortator of the Great Houses and Nerevarine of the Ashlander tribes, the Temple proposes that the claimant of the identity of the Nerevarine shall present himself for inspection before his revered honor, Archcanon Lord Tholer Sarioni, High Archcanon and Chancellor of Vivek, Archcanon of the Canonry of Vardenfell, Archpriest of the High Fane, for a review and consideration of his claims and identity. However, until such time as the claimant has actually been named Hortator separately and jointly by the 3 great houses of Vardenfell, separately and jointly by the 4 tribes of the Nashlanders, there is no purpose in reviewing or discussing these claims. Because of the Temple's official position on the prophecies of the Nerevarine, and in the interests of preserving the security of the claimant from those parties who might wish to do him harm, it is convenient that the claimant of the title of Nerevarine shall present himself in secret to Archcanon Sarioni and in the Archcanon's private quarters in the High Fane of Vivek. To signify agreement with these terms and conditions for a meeting with the Archcanon, the Nerevarine claimant may present himself to the healer of the High Fane of Vivek, Danso Indulus, and the necessary arrangements shall be made. Once again, and no purpose is served by a meeting until the claimant is named Hortator of the 3 great houses and is named Nerevarine of the 4 Ashlander tribes. Written at the request of, and in the name of his revered honor, Tholer Sarioni, Archcanon and Chancellor of Vivek. Delano Lauren, Priest of Vivek, Assistant to the Archcanon. Well-beloved people of Morrowind, take heed, take warning. The outlaw named Caius stated trade of spellsword, lately called Incarnate and Nerevarine, now is shown to the investigating ordinators and magistrates of this district to be an agent in the pay of the Imperial Intelligence Service. This outlaw's claims are false. The prophecies this outlaw cites are discredited. The dishonest character and base purposes of this outlaw in perpetrating this hoax are now made clear to all observers. Caius is sought for various crimes by ordinators and town guards. Report all encounters with this outlaw to the proper authorities. If you see this outlaw in public, give the alarm. Published with the authority of the Temple, the Order of the Watch, the Magistrates of Vardenfell District, under the signature and authority of Grandmaster Beryl Sala, Captain of the Watch. Hear and heed.
And on that note, we will leave the remaining houses and the Ashlander tribes for a future episode. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.